19th century mission endeavor bequeathed the church in Africa with three enduring institutions: the schools, the hospitals, and I'm waiting for you to finish. Besides the church, the publishing houses. It was a missional strategy in which where we would have the hospitals, the schools, and also the printing presses. And this inspiration that goes in all our different countries across Africa, they really supported the education system that then would be set up to educate the masses and helping those who would come to faith in Christ to love God with their minds. However, in our recent research that we have done on the Africa Bookseller Survey that was commissioned by Africa Speaks, an initiative that is seeking to solve the systemic challenges we are having as a continent, as a church, in dealing with the issues of publishing and the content that we have and how we communicate. It commissioned a research to move around the nations. And so we picked the first 19 countries. And from that tour, which I have personally participated, my heart was broken because in quite a number of our countries, the once flourishing publishing houses are either no longer existing or are not operating as they were a few decades ago. And what does that mean then? Is that we have lost our capacity to continue to make the contribution of our thoughts in a more concerted effort, especially at the place of denominational influences. As we speak today, we have two Pan-African publishing houses on the continent. And I think a number of you here could have been published by one of them, and that would be Oasis International and Langham Publishing. And most of the other initiatives that we do have on the continent are actually happening within the country. And that's something for us to reflect upon as a church, even today. How do we move forward? How do we think about this? In a number of the countries that we visited, like Rwanda and Zambia, Botswana, there are few, and some of them have no flourishing Christian publisher that is local among the people and among the indigenous church. On the other hand, we are now raising and have in our hands young people who are now digital natives. And when we think about how then do we communicate the gospel to the next generation, and one of the things that I think about deeply is what Nicholas Carl in his book Shallows make reference to the fact that the growing generation, the antidote to the effects of the screen time that our children are growing with, he recommends and talks about it, is actually book reading. And he says that actually book reading, in a sense, redeems, not only just for the content, but it redeems the brain. It gives them opportunity to actually stop, read through, follow through, and reflect much more deeply. Brothers and sisters, our faith is a book faith. And besides the fact that we receive our content through the book, the written word, I think it also has its own benefit in how it grows us into our own depth and critical thinking. And so when I think about that, my heart just feels to move us back into thinking about how then do we engage the rising generation that is living in a media-saturated world. And one of them, in my opinion, is to encourage them to go back into a culture of reading. And I'm going to raise for us quite a number of different initiatives happening on the continent. I wasn't following the screen. One of them is this, by a ministry in Kenya called Timazi. And the book there, they have a program they do every year where they pick a book from a Christian African author, and help the students to really learn and grow as they reflect upon different thematic issues. And this one is by the president of Life in Abundance, Dr. Florence Muindi in Kenya. And not only that, last week we had the gathering of Christian publishers in Botswana. Media Associates International, the African wing, is also making effort to bring together Christian publishers, authors, and editors so that we can see what can we do in that space of book publishing. We talk about Magazine Training International. We had the training last year, and they are again moving towards thinking, how do we get all our different believers working on magazines? And lastly is that Africa Speaks now brings all these initiatives and brings us to the place where how can we reflect on how to move forward as a continent. How do we improve our infrastructure so that our content is well written, well edited, and efficiently distributed? And so in the next year, we're going to have a consultation in the month of March, and you have received a bookmark when you are coming in back. And so please do recommend and nominate some of the best publishers you have in your own country to attend this, so that together as a continent, we can think together, consult together, and create a plan together on how are we going to have our own content developed and moving to the years that are coming. Thank you so much.